They say life is what you make it. So what happens if you actually try? What if you actually tried to get your mind right? What if you actually tried to live the high life? What if you happen to die cause life is finite? What if you actually tried to live your best day ever? What if you actually tried to get your mind right? What if you actually tried to live the high life? What if you happen to die cause life is finite? What if you actually tried to live your best day ever? What if you actually grind out when the time's right? What if you actually blinded by your hindsight? What if you actually find out what defines life? What if you actually tried to live your best day ever? I'm getting 1% better every day. I'm getting 1% better every way. I'm waking up every day to a sunny day. No matter what the weather say, life is like a record, so just let it play.
All right, guys, we are back. We're going to be talking about our favorite live concert experiences. We're joined with a special guest, our buddy Dan, the NFT Boy, Dan the Lost Boy, a full-time musician and NFT DJ.
That's it. You hit the nail right on the head. We're just rolling off of some Twitter Spaces fun and back into some more media. Best Day Ever Media, the best kind.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I just thought this would be a great one to bring you in on, Dan, because we're going to be talking about our favorite live music experiences. I've got a handful of questions outlined here, so if it makes sense to you guys, let's just jump into it.
Yeah, let's give her.
All right. And so we'd love to hear from you guys watching this, whether you're watching it live or after the fact. What's your favorite music experience? What's your favorite concert? But before we share our favorite concert experiences, I've got a couple other questions. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you remember what was your first, your first real concert experience? I'm going to define like a real concert as you had to pay some sort of cover charge or fee in order to listen to it. So, like the school talent show doesn't count.
Damn, that was going to be my first go-to, but maybe I'll kick it off if you guys don't mind. Yeah, so talent show was definitely front of mind. I had a stepbrother that absolutely shredded guitar, so saw him a few times, but that was definitely free 99, no cost involved there. But the one that sticks out as the first and probably the most prolific for me was Avenged Sevenfold, which is kind of like a more heavy metal, heavy rock style band. I used to be kind of emo, as the kids call it, in high school, and that was my first paid show, Centennial Hall in London, an absolute riot. Mosh pits, got punched in the face a few times. So it was a full experience, especially being the first one. But that's what pops up to my mind. And I'm still a fan of that band today, but haven't seen them doing any touring more in the NFT space.
And how old would you have been, Dan?
I want to say probably 15 or 16. So pretty wild that I hadn't really gone to a paid show, up until that point. But it was nice that it was one that was right off the rails. So learned really quick what can go down at a live show and a concert, and had a bunch of fun doing it. Went with a few friends, and that was the talk of the town at school the next day. Anybody that couldn't make it, whether for money reasons or, couldn't get to the city, get a ride from Strathroy, they were definitely FOMOing.
And based upon that age, did you have a driver or someone's parents dropping you guys off at the concert and then you raged out in the mosh pit?
Luckily, we knew some DJs that had the license early on, so we did get the ride without, the chaperone, if you will, because that always sucks, because they like to linger, parents, and maybe even show up a little early and catch a little bit of the debauchery in the parking lot. But yeah, it was kind of an all-in friends event. Left from Strathroy right after kind of high school classes were over, straight into the city and straight into some fun, if I'm being honest. Maybe a little bit of rated R fun behind the scenes, but we won't speak on that.
Love it. I actually love the Centennial Hall venue too. It's actually such a great acoustic venue. Like you can get some serious noise in there. And I assume you had permanent ear damage after that, because I can't even imagine seeing Avenged Sevenfold there. We randomly this year, it came up, there was tickets for Centennial Hall for it was just like a random show. And I was like, okay, I just kind of Googled what's going on in London tonight. And it was like a random show at Centennial Hall. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go. And the band, however it was named, it just sounded relatively innocent. It was not. It was absolutely screamo, hardcore metal. And I was like, oh my God. And it was at Centennial Hall. I left there with, for sure, permanent ear damage. But, mad respect to that venue for having the number of people they fit in that small space. And then the volume at which they play at is just insane.
I would hate to live
Hall's
around
pretty
there.
decent size.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
it is, but they pretend like it's a lot bigger than it really is.
Agreed. And the
and
speaker
so-
system, I think, fits that.
Adam, what was your first live concert experience?
Okay, so my first concert experience was Lincoln Park, and my mom, it was brilliant. She used to threaten me all the time because her and my grandma would go to these home and garden shows, and they would drive down because like I'm from Collingwood, right, which is like 45 minutes to 2 hours away from literally anything. So if you wanted like live music, if you wanted like the movie theater, like that actually had seats that weren't level, you would have to drive to Barrie or Toronto. And so my very first experience there was Lincoln Park. And so Lincoln Park, it was hilarious because they were like, yeah, that's it. Like I had done something crazy. And my mom's like, that's it. You're coming with me and grandma to the home and garden show. And I was like, son of a bitch. Like this is like literally the last possible thing I want to do on the planet. And it was 2001. So how I would have been like 7 or 8 or 10 or something. I don't know. I'm born in 1994. Somebody smarter than me do that math. But 2001 Media Worldwide Tour. Or sorry, it was 2004. So I was
just going to say, like, 7 seems very young for Lincoln Park.
no, 2000. Well, fuck. I think it was 2004 or something. But anyways, it was called the Worldwide Meteora Tour. And, this is when Chester's alive. We got Mike Shinoda. This is just before, oh, shoot. What's that other group that Mike did? And it was kind of like hip hop.
Oh, Fort Minor.
Fort Minor. Oh my God, dude. Fort Minor. So it was right before Fort Minor and all that stuff kicked off. And anyways, they threatened me with this home and garden show. Grandma's not even in the car when we leave, but I'm like too stupid to really be like, where's grandma? And my mom's like, yeah, she'll totally meet us there. David's there, my stepdad. So I'm like, Dave's coming to the home and garden show. Whatever. This is brutal. I'm going to read a book and try and ignore the pain I'm about to suffer through for the whole weekend. And anyways, we get to the hotel. And Dave's friends and a guy I grew up with, and he's just a weapon. Shane comes flying out and he goes, buddy, what's going on? And I go, Shane, what the fuck are you doing at the home and garden show? And I'm still not aware of what's going on here. And anyways, they completely rugged me, and it's Lincoln Park, and we've got floor tickets, and I get absolutely pulled to the front by these massive dudes and my mom. My mom just recruited some 6'4" mean looking guys to push me right to the front fence. And I think we have photos of Chester's arm, like you can vividly see his tattoos and the microphone and everything. Probably feel the sweat coming off his head. It was an epic experience.
Nice. That's actually like a surprise first concert experience. That adds an extra level of just memory to it.
Yeah.
Well, and the Meteora tour too. Like I think that's one of the most legendary albums they ever did. And the fact that you saw that tour, that's wild.
Because you got to think, if they're doing Meteora Worldwide Tour, that means they're also playing Hybrid Theory, right? Which is like the original gangster music from them. It's so good. And the guys that I was with, so my buddy Dave's friend actually got called up essentially onto stage to play a song because he was like, hey, who wants to play this next song? And so they get called up on stage and stuff. It was actually truly epic. And this guy too, he has a similar tattoo to Chester, and he's hand drawn really cool art based on his tattoos and the band. And I'm just like, oh man, this is cool.
Nice.
And before we keep going, I don't know if you mentioned it, Adam. What location was that? What venue?
Air Canada Center.
Gotcha.
Oh shit! Yeah,
that's a big venue. That's a nice
one.
Epic concert.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
All right.
Last but not least.
Yeah. For my first concert experience, it was definitely a different vibe than the Air Canada Center. So I'm trying to think now. I feel like it was near the end of high school. So this must have been an all ages event, even though it was at a dive bar in Sarnia. But the Trews were playing. And this was before the Trews blew up. I actually love the Trews live. The Trews, Arkells.
Yeah.
There's actually some fantastic kind of Canada only bands almost that never really blew up, but are just amazing. And Anyways, go to this concert. It was a $2 cover. So again, like the Trues were literally nobody then, and there was like 8 of us in the crowd, and 6 of us came in a minivan. So like again, it was just like this wild experience where it felt like they were just playing for us essentially. And the opening band was like Rocket to the something or whatever, and again, it was just like like there was just literally no one there. So the drummer was like the main kind of like banter guy. You know how like often like bands have like the banter guy, and so he's kind of bantering the opening band. And there's only 2 girls in the crowd, like my girlfriend at the time and my buddy's girlfriend. And so like he can tell like this show isn't going to do anything, so he just starts hitting on them. And we were just like, what do we even do right now? Like this is so weird. This is so awkward. And we just kind of like laughed about it and became kind of an inside joke afterwards. But I remember like going home that night and we were just like so amped up because again, it felt like just like a private show essentially for us in regards to that experience. And I feel like actually a lot of my favorite music experiences have been those like dungy dive bars, like Call the Office. Like there was a phase in my life where like we just went to the Call the Office at least once or twice a month. And again, usually like $2, $5, sometimes free cover to see these live bands perform. So yeah, definitely have a lot of fond memories of those just like little intimate settings. And again, like Call the Office, terrible layout, like actually like a very impractical live audience sort of experience because it literally just feels like you're almost in someone's living room. And there was also again, just talking about those like small kind of dive experiences, I think it's the London Music Club, not to be mistaken with the London Music Hall, because the Music Hall is like pimp these days. Although I remember when it used to be like multiple stories and like really grungy and shitty back then as well. But there's the London Music Hall, which I think is on like Waterloo Street or Wellington Street or something like that, downtown London. It's just this big house. And again, like you're essentially sitting in someone's living room listening to a live music performance. There's just something super cool about that stuff.
Yeah. For anybody watching at home, this is kind of what Call the Office setup looks like. I mean, it's absolutely debaucherous. The setup's miserable. Oh wow, we've got the smallest photo
like,
on the planet.
The bathrooms are just like they're exactly what you'd expect, right? Yeah. Like you're just like, oh my god, I didn't even know London was this hard. But here we are in this Call the Office bathroom with like no door on the stall or whatever. And like again, it's probably been fixed up a little bit since then. I think it's became like a pinball thing, right? Like they've got an arcade and stuff there going these days. But I remember that building actually went up for sale for like $1 million back in 2015, 2016. And I was seriously tempted. I was so tempted to buy it because I was just like, how cool would that be to be the guy that owns Call the Office in London, Ontario?
That would be legendary.
Epic, right? For sure.
But let's transition into the next question now. So we've talked about first concert experience. I'd love to hear, is there a favorite music festival? Have you guys like done the music festival scene? What does that look like?
Good one. I'll let you go first if you got something, Adam.
Yeah, sure. A couple really stand out, and of course, this is a loaded and like impossible question to answer. But I always found Warped Tour was epic. I mean, the mud, the blood, and the beer. Come on, it was epic. Like outside, rain or shine, you've got mud in your hair, your nose, your mouth, your eyeballs. And whatever's not mud, it's probably sweat and rain and oh man, or beer. Honestly, that series of concerts was so epic, and I don't think it's going anymore. Maybe Matt can look that up while I'm chatting here. But dude, Warped Tour was epic. But one of the greatest tours ever that stands out in my mind, and it's just because it was so epic. Was called the Family Values Tour, which I don't think anybody has heard of. And you guys missed out because Family Values Tour was so legit. It was all the hardcore shit. Like I first saw there, I saw Korn, Evanescence, Disturbed, right? These groups that like were huge when I was growing up, and like, you know, a huge part of my my youth. And anyways, that was always epic. And it was at the Molson Amphitheater. And what an epic venue. I mean, you're outside, you're in the grass, or you could go down on, and, you know, security was always pretty loose at the amphitheater. So you could, if you could buy grass tickets, which were like way cheaper, and then just work your way down, work your way into the seats. Once you're in the seats, you can work your way down a little closer down to the floor. And then eventually somebody's not really paying attention, you sneak onto the floor and then don't leave for the whole day. Find a way to stay down there all day. Hopefully you haven't broken the seal and you can party down there as long as you want. But talk about a mosh pit, man. The Corn mosh pit was legit the place you would go to die. And like these dudes were crazy looking. And I mean, just think who's consuming Disturbed and Corn and whatever. These dudes are wild. So I think Family Values Tour and close tie would be Warped Tour, Vans Warped Tour, which, by the way, I forgot was Vans. It was called Vans Warped Tour.
Yeah. I just quickly checked. Yeah, it stopped in 2019. So I don't know if COVID killed it or what the deal is there, but that is sad because I never went to Warped Tour, and yet like I actually just have a fond association with Warped Tour because of
You never went? Oh, no, Matt, I would have thought I was stoking your fire here.
No, so like never went, but like the moment I hear Warped Tour, I can't help but think of Blink-182, and like there's one song, right? Like fell in love with the girl at Warped Tour, and just like that energy, I guess, just encapsulates like my thoughts and memories of like music festivals.
I just got chills. Chills straight up.
It's like that late 90s, early 2000s rock vibe. And I actually played one of the new Blink songs on our spaces today. And just that in itself was like a kick of nostalgia that is literally leading back to like a Warped Tour vibe. And now we're talking about it here. Hilarious. And I never actually got to witness a Warped Tour either. Although, again, I feel like I have. I think I can relate to Matt there, where it's like such a culturally relevant thing. I've listened to so much music that's referenced it. People saying that, that was some of the wildest shows they have ever been to. But a big FOMO here, dude, especially the fact that it's no longer. That might be just the nail in the coffin. Never going to do a Warped Tour.
I would have bet everything I own that both of you would have been like massively.
Like I would have bet. I would have bet too, honestly. Like if I didn't know my own experience, that like between me and Dan, you'd be safe betting one of us would have been there. But
oh my god, if you guys want to really like hurt yourselves over this subject matter, just Google the lineups. Google the historical
they were
lineups.
Fantastic.
I mean,
like a vibe for sure.
Dude, and even like some of the groups you were listing off there, Adam, like again, through some of my high school years, that was like my go-tos, Disturbed, things like that. So I would have killed to see one, let alone two, let alone a whole lineup of some of those groups all in one kind of weekend or jam-pack. It would have been a riot. But I kind of started...
Hold on. Yeah, sorry. I just got to throw one last thing with Warped Tour. Alexis on Fire, we saw at Warped Tour.
The best.
And is Adam not rocking the piss of a lifetime out at because it's all outdoors, right? And there's a couple different stages and whatever. And so multiple shows are kind of going on at once, and it's kind of hard to be everywhere. Alexis on Fire is... I can't remember if they were coming up or coming off. I think they were coming up. And they were like, one or two artists next. I have the piss of a goddamn lifetime. I've walked away from one of the main stages. I'm in the porta potty thing. Porta potty. I come flying out of there. I'm just glowing. I'm like stoked. I come flying out of there, and who is literally staring me in the eyeballs but Dallas Green? And I go, Dallas, buddy, I've just pissed, but I still want to shake your hand. He goes, go for it, buddy. Good to see you here. And Dallas Green and I have this moment of complete unsanitary brohood. And I think that takes the cake on Warped Tour.
That's a rocker vibe, man. If Dallas said anything other than hell yeah, let's do it, I would have maybe thrown some shade, but not surprising there. And dude, he's gone on to do his own incredible stuff. So Alexis on Fire, huge W there, but Dallas Green, I think that might have been the hand slap I'd been looking for. Maybe the lead singer because the screaming, but Dallas definitely. But I was going to say, I kind of transitioned out of like rock music into rap, and then actually out of rap into like electronic dance music over the last, say, 5 years. So I've actually had quite a few great festivals, more EDM centric. And the one that really stands out to me is Ever After. The first year they did it in Kitchener-Waterloo area at Bingaman's. So kind of just an wide open park. Again, was raining, so tons of mud. And an artist that I really like in the electronic space called Chami. He dresses up as like a priest, and you kind of praise, the stage and everything. And I knew almost all of his music at that time. I was going hard in the gym, so it was a compliment there. And I went to this festival all alone, 100% alone, from London. So drove into a buddy's house, left my car there, went out solo because no one wanted to come. I said, Chami's playing, dude. We got to go praise. So may have gotten into some fun substances, again, even by myself, finding myself up against that front rail, just raging solo, and can confidently say probably one of the best times I've ever had. And it didn't rely on, well, maybe some substance, but not friends or anybody else kind of needing to be your support. Just literally being there for the music, for the artist, and feeling like, don't need anybody else here, man. It's just me, you, play the set in the pouring rain. And yeah, it's probably one of my top faves for festivals, even though I'm listing one artist because that's all I could almost remember, and that's why I went. There was probably other really good ones. We're going to highlight Chami on this one, though.
I could be wrong, Dan, but I actually think I was recently a little bit upset that I wasn't going to be in London because I'm pretty sure Chami's playing in London.
Dude.
London, Ontario, London Music Hall, November 4th, dude. It's coming right up. Because
I might have to go.
Because I was thinking like, oh shit, I'm going to be leaving for Matt's. But now, actually, with our new schedule, maybe I'll make that, won't I, Matt?
Hey, now.
What was the schedule we had said? Oh, yeah, that's the day before I'm planning on leaving. Maybe I'll just be there.
Hey, maybe I have to take that in a sidebar, Adam. I might be interested to see Chami round 2. You, though, Matt, any festivals on your kind of docket that stand out?
Yeah, the big one for us, we would like make a pilgrimage every year to Osheaga, and probably for like 5, 6, might have even been 7 years straight. We went there and like just it was just like unlike anything else, right? I think like over 100,000 people. It'd be a 3-day event. It's on the island in Montreal, right? So like you take the subway there, and like just like everyone is there for Osheaga because it's like 8 a.m. on the subway on like a Friday, and again, everyone dressed like for music festivals, like cranking beers on the subway and stuff like that. Just all those crazy things, and yeah, it would like it stands out to me as like a bookmark in my life, the Osheaga experience, and just all the fun and shenanigans we'd get into. We were like also, like typical lean fire type people, so very frugal. So it was always about like having alcohol strapped to your body so that when they like searched you, they wouldn't find it, because like even back then it would be like $10 a beer. And so you're just like, oh man, it's going to be very hard. And like, weed wasn't legal then. So like you'd have like stashes in your wallet and stuff like that. And like, again, like they would like make you open your purse, open your wallet and all that. And like, it was always just this arms race of us trying to like get one step ahead of security in regards to that. But the very first time that we went to Osheaga, it was just me and one buddy. He had talked me into it, and we drove there, got there, and like the first night, it was just like this crazy magical experience, like one of those things like from what is it, the bachelor party movie, right? Whatever that was called.
Oh, the Hangover.
Yeah. It was like one of those things where like we like got into a party we shouldn't have been at, and then into this other thing and this other thing. We literally like we didn't make it back to our hotel room. We got lost, but it turns out we literally passed out in the park across the street from our hotel. And like literally again, like both of us just like lying down on the curb, passed out. Wallets there, like phones there, everything was there. Like somehow we didn't get robbed or mugged. It was just like, typical white privilege experience or whatever you want to frame it as, because like just two dudes just like being completely ridiculous that entire weekend long. But yeah, that definitely stands out to me as like my absolute like Osheaga. And again, like they'd always have like the best lineups, right? So like it'd be the same bands touring Coachella would come to Osheaga. It would like they somehow always just got the guys like as they were popping off. So yeah, just absolutely amazing. But kind of leads me into the next question here. So is there like a concert series, a music festival? Was there anything that you guys like made a pilgrimage to? Like every year you went and had this experience? And I'll let you guys think about that for a second, because I've got another one. And this one, again, like exact opposite of the pilgrimage to Osheaga, but this was a pilgrimage every like Boxing Day, usually it was, to Call the Office. And this band that like most people have never heard of, but they had one song blow up on like a commercial. And I'm going to do a screen share here just so you guys, because I don't know if you'd even recognize this band, but again, to me, it's hilarious. All right.
I'm guessing in my brain who it is. Who it is now.
Was it Electric Six?
Nope.
I wanna take you to a gay bar. I wanna take you to a gay bar. I wanna take you to a gay bar. Gay bar, gay bar.
Honest Abe.
Yeah, and so literally we would go to this show, right? It was almost always Boxing Day, so the day after Christmas. It became just like this reoccurring thing. Again, for probably 4 or 5 years, we went there as long as they did it. Obviously, Electric Six wasn't doing that great, that they were playing a Boxing Day event at Call the Office, but it would sell out ish, right? You could always get tickets, but we'd buy our tickets early. They literally traveled in like a shitty van. You know, when we'd get there, we'd see the shitty van parked and call the office. We'd be like, fuck yeah, Electric Six is here. And it got to the point where, again, like we eventually started to become such a crowd in of ourselves. A lot of my friends growing up were from Park Hill, Ontario. And so we would just yell Park Hill. And then it became a reoccurring joke with the band when they'd come back the next year. They'd be like,
No way.
"It's Park Hill, Ontario here." And we'd be like, "Wah!" And just
No
like
way.
losing our shit. And yeah, and I've got some very blurry photos of us with the band. You know, one of us would usually at least get pulled up on stage because, again, Call the Office is that sort of environment. And yeah, it's fun sometimes to have those like inside jokes or reoccurring things. Like, again, this was just like a pilgrimage we would make every single year. It went without question. If they were playing, we were going to be there at Call the Office with them. So curious, did you guys have any sort of pilgrimages where like, or maybe followed the band to multiple venues while they were playing a series of concerts?
Yeah, like for me and our family, it was always Linkin Park. Like they were just obsessed with it, and so like every single time I think that they ever played in Toronto, we were there. So that was kind of like a given. But one of the pilgrimages I still would like to make before I'm too old for this type of shit is the what is it called, Tomorrowland or. That is what it's called, right? I really want to do that. And I've also wanted to go to Osheaga as well, but yeah, that was a thing. And like one like random, it felt like a pilgrimage at the time because we were like fairly young. I think we were in grade 7 or something. And one of my best friend's older brother had just got his car. So he just got a car, he just got a license, just had the ability to drive. And we went and we did this huge drive, what felt crazy because nobody else was willing to drive us. We drove to Barrie to see Protest the Hero at a venue that is now gone, I think, but it was called The Mansion. It's basically called The Office, but like even grungier. And and it was not by any stretch of the goddamn imagination a mansion. But if you went in there and this place was wild. I mean, like this might have been 100-person venue and 100 people were moshing for this show. And I mean, seriously, it was like the most intense experience ever. And we ended up getting we got pulled up on the stage. They were like, look at these goddamn kids that are here. And we got like kind of crowd surfed throughout it. It was epic. And like, sure, there was only like 100 people in like this dive of a freaking venue. And it was just mental. But like, doing that at that age, like just having his brother be able to drive us, it was just mind blowing. We're like, wait, you're not a parent. How could you possibly do this? Right. And then like driving us back, and it was him and his girlfriend, Amanda. And I'll literally never forget those people. And I ran into her like, you know, it must have been like 10 years later, 15 years later. And she was, serving us at this one place. And I go, holy shit, are you Amanda? And her last name. So I go, are you Amanda? Whatever. And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, do you remember that Protest the Hero concert that we went to with Shane? And she just goes, no fucking way. I'm like, you're Adam or one of Gav's friends? And I go, yeah. And she's like, holy shit, that was nuts. Anyways, like the ability for music to be a connector like that, like it's just so amazing.
And those real life experiences too. Like I think you can connect with somebody if you've like listened to an album back cover to cover, but then you like double down with an experience like that. And especially at a young age where you're like breaking some norms as far as freedom goes. You're like, man, we're going to go to another town or city. My parents or somebody else's parents aren't driving. You feel like you're off the rails in the best way possible. But I haven't really ever done like pilgrimage to get to an annual event, but one that just comes to mind that I've gone to multiple times, I'd assume you guys have as well, is Rock the Park here in London. It usually brings me out at least, for one of the days or one of the acts or one of the groups. So maybe not a pilgrimage because it's literally just downtown, but something that's reoccurring, pops up, and usually, I don't know, something to tickle the fancy of us Londoners. And the odd time they have a good group. And I'm trying to think of the name of the bar. You guys will probably be able to help me, but Bob Noxious frequents it all the time. It's
I know what you mean. I can't even think of it now, though.
terrible that none of us can think of it. I was Googling it and I couldn't find it because it's called The Office, and
it was like in East London, right? Like off of Huron Street.
yeah, again,
What was it? It was like that, and that's where all the Cougars were.
Yep.
Back in the day.
Let's go.
Hey, yo.
Speaking of Cougars, do you know who I saw this year at Rock the Park? Freaking Alanis Morissette. And let me tell you right now, she put on a goddamn show.
Really,
it was epic. It was so good. Alanis Morissette. Also this year we saw the Glorious Sons there. Fantastic. The Trews, right? Matt brought up the Trews are so goddamn good live. It doesn't make any sense because their music's mostly terrible, but live it is amazing. We also saw, hold on to your seats because this was wild. This year at Rock the Park, we had TLC.
Whoa,
we had Aqua, Ja Rule, who murdered. Ja Rule murdered. It was so good. This dude is on so much TRT. It's unbelievable. He was so jacked. There wasn't a single girl in the crowd that wasn't just flooded. We had DMC from Run DMC. Fantastic. Ace of Base and 112, which I didn't even remember. And somehow I missed the 2 Live Crew, which was bullshit because I really wanted to see that. But what a freaking lineup. What a lineup.
That
in
is
London, Ontario. And, beers were like $17, so that kind of sucked, but did in fact have multiple, and it was amazing.
Stretched the budget. It was worth it.
Hey, another example of just like how music works. Ran into some lady. We're at the gate, about to buy tickets. She goes, "Hey, we had a friend cancel. Do you guys want to like do this whole weekend for 50% off?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to do that. Of course I do." And then had zero way to pay her because I'm like, "Well, I need all this money for beer." She's like, "Don't worry, you'll be back tomorrow. Pay me then." And anyways, we ended up making great friends with these 2 totally random ladies, listened to the whole concert series with them over the weekend, still chat with them and all that. Met a mortgage lender there. It was like crazy. It's just music can just bring so many people together. And what a time. Look at that lineup. Alanis Morissette. I was like, we have to go. Called my mom, obliterated. Alanis Morissette, it says she was playing at 9:30. Well, she played until like midnight or something like that. I FaceTime my mom at midnight. I'm like, "Dude, it's fucking Alanis Morissette." I'm like, "Isn't it ironic?" And she's like, "Actually, it's not really ironic." Right, shut up, Mom.
Was it more like acoustic-y or was it like rock? Like, did she get into some heavy?
Both. They were giving her.
Love it.
They were absolutely sending. It was one of the best shows I've seen in a long time.
That's top tier energy because I need some of those ebbs and flows. I need to hear some acoustic breakdown, and then I need to get my face melted straight off.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what band, actually, I forgot to mention them. And if you guys don't even know these guys, something to pay attention to. July Talk. These guys.
Oh, yeah, July Talk's fantastic.
Very good.
Yeah.
They put on a show. And I mean, like, I couldn't tell if they were acting or if they believed their own shit. But like the show that I witnessed, I was like, whoa, this is top tier entertainment. And like the music was really good as well. But like just their whole stage presence and how they interact with each other and like the weird like sexual tension and like all this shit that they put in the stage. And you're just like, this is so epic. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and like his voice is just so different, right? Well, and then layer in hers and like it's a hell of an experience. But I know
this
for
is
a
the
while.
Guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
this is the guy. Oh shit, I'm on the wrong thing. I can't zoom in. But I mean, he looks like, he's like 100-pound dude. And like his voice is that of like 100-year-old smoking whiskey bourbon, veteran. It's wild.
Yeah. Man, I still can't think of the name of that bar, Dan, and it's going to drive me crazy because I can picture it. And there was another, like, there was 2 of them, right? So, like, there was a location in London. I think the other one was, like, in Tilsonburg or another, like, no-name town. And, like, I feel like it was even, like, a woman's name or something. But anyways.
It literally is. Are
you guys talking about Roxanne's?
I don't think. No.
No.
Oh, well, that's another shit bar in London.
But anyways, moving on. So kind of switching gears here before we get into our best concert experience ever. Is there like a worst concert experience? And maybe it's the venue was terrible, maybe it's the bands were terrible, or maybe it's you had a really bad trip and everything else was great. But I'd love to hear, like, is there one experience that stands out for you guys? I'll let you think about that for a little bit, but this one's not really like a bad experience because honestly it always just works out in the end and it becomes hilarious with hindsight. But one year at Oshiaga, there was a group of us, and like for us it was always like alcohol and weed. Those were really the only things we were doing at a music festival. This one girl was with us though, and she was a little bit more experienced with other drugs, so she brought like a bunch of Molly, and she brought a bunch. She didn't know how to properly dose it though, so she ended up just like completely overdoing it. Norma Jeans, yes, you are 100% right, Dan.
I had to
Norma
find
Jeans.
it. I had to find it.
That's satisfying. Yeah, Norma
My heart
Jeans,
can
that
rest.
was hilariously sketch. Yeah, they used to have some really cheap drink specials and stuff. But yeah, anyways, she ended up like really overdoing it on the Molly, and ended up like they've got like the tents, right, for people that are clearly like tripping too hard or like ODing. And so she got separated from us. She decided like, fuck it, I'm just going to do everything I've got, which was way too much. And we ended up not finding her until like near the end of the night, and she was still like struggling to the point where like we weren't going to be able to get her on the subway. And so we missed the last subway, and we had to walk like 5 kilometers because again we were too frugal to be willing to afford a cab. And like it was just like this crazy journey again. It almost makes me think of the movie The Warriors, where like they're crossing through these different neighborhoods and like all this different stuff. And that was us. And like at the time, I remember being mildly pissed because somehow I ended up being like the parent of the group, and one of the other girls in our group had a cast in crutches. So like we were moving so slow because I've got one person
Just a
tripping balls, the other one in a cast
trio.
in crutches, and it was just like
this the Goonies
experience.
Like a movie.
We were the gang that couldn't
Scene
shoot
out of a
straight
movie.
that night for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny because I kind of want to coattail off of an experience I already mentioned here, which was that Ever After. And when the show ended, I'm shirtless, absolutely fired up, like just sweating again.
Wet.
Maybe some similar female's name drug involved. Wet again, hot, worked out, and there's nobody I know there because I'm solo. Pouring rain, and the way you enter into the Bingamons is down a very steep hill. So literally everyone, it was like a scene again out of a movie. People are crawling and like clawing at this mud hill, grabbing onto strangers and like supporting themselves with them to get back up to the road to be able to even get your ride or your cab. And again, frugality hits where I'm like, I'm not paying for an entire cab. I'm one man. So you start trying to chum up with somebody. It's pouring rain and freezing. So I'm under a business in like a little commercial section in Kitchener-Waterloo. Get in there with some other guys and, hey, where are you headed? Close enough to me. Can I hop in with you? And I ended up just skating the bill. So frugality always wins there, ladies and gents. But it's funny, the best turned into the worst with just the conditions, trying to get home. Everything's great until the concert ends, and then you're all on your own, and you're like, oh, we got to get back to safety. Not always the most fun. So that's something that stands out for like kind of a negative on my end.
Anything jump to mind, Adam?
Yeah, I was just thinking, and for some reason I couldn't remember the band name. I could just remember the album cover, and the title of the album was El Camino. And of course that's the Black Keys. But I was thinking about the Black Eyed Peas. I'm like, no, that's definitely wrong. But anyways, the Black Keys, I went and I saw them with a lady friend at one point, and I don't even know, but I couldn't even think of a negative concert experience. This definitely was like a shitty experience, but it's the only one ever. The Black Keys murdered. Okay, they played
As
like
they usually do. Yeah.
Album quality. Like it was actually kind of disgusting how good they were. But I was so fucking shit-faced that I literally just couldn't keep it together. Like I remember my girlfriend at the time being like, dude, you're actually retarded. Like you are not somebody that should be in public right now. And I was like, rah, rah, rah. And I straight up, I think I slept through half the show, woke up, forgot the entire thing. And then it got dragged home by my girlfriend, who was just absolutely impressed at the time. And And yeah, whoa, what a ride. But I do remember the first few songs being totally epic. Another hilarious concert experience that I'm just thinking of right now that wasn't exactly perfect was in London at the Budweiser Garden or whatever the hell it's called, like the big one in London. We just recently saw, I can't, wow, this is how bad it got. I can't even remember. It was somebody important, and then Marilyn Manson. And I was there with my stepdad, my mom. They're crazy, of course. Just a little background on these guys. Like my stepdad has been to probably over 1,000 concerts, and like he has like entire music rooms like dedicated, straight up like crazy shit. His album collection is probably like maybe one of the coolest in Canada. The dude's off the hook, probably invested every single penny he's ever made into music. And so like, that's just kind of the culture that was in our house. And like, so I think he's seen like Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Metallica, and Guns N' Roses, like these guys, he's probably seen them like dozens of times. And like all the greats, if they were alive in his time, he's voyaged to see them. So anyways, my stepdad comes with my mom. We go to see, and I'm kind of pissed now that I can't think of who was before Marilyn Manson because they were really good.
I think, was it Rob Zombie?
Yeah, Rob Zombie. And Rob Zombie was actually really good. So Rob Zombie finishes. Marilyn Manson's coming on stage. I see my stepdad getting his ass hauled out of the stadium. Right. And I'm like, well, what the hell is going on here? Turns out they were smoking a joint on the floor, which every single person in the building was doing. And so anyways, I decide I'm not down with that. And I'm like, well, fuck you guys. And anyways, I had two giant beers, like huge beers. And I'm like, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? And they're like, hey, yeah, he's out, whatever. And they're dragging him. And I'm like, well, fuck you guys. Like, this is bullshit. And they're like, okay, well, you look drunk. You're out. And I'm like, oh, really? I look drunk. And I proceed to just dominate two giant, like just skull 2 mugs of beer. And they're like, well, now you're definitely out. So anyways, stepdad and I get kicked out. Mom's abandoned watching fucking Marilyn Manson. She doesn't even notice because she's at the front going crazy. And anyways, we get kicked out. Somehow we get separated. I get lost. I straight up get lost. I am lost in my own city that I live in. And like 3 hours later, I don't even recall what happened in between. I just emerge from the park. So like, it's not Victoria Park, but like that park down by the water. God, I won't even remember what it is, but it like it's down
probably
below
where Rock the Park is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whatever that park's called. I'm down in there. I emerge like from a trail. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? And I call my mom. My phone's at 1%. I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, I have no idea where I am. I'm going to meet you downtown though. And anyway, she has to drive around and fucking find me. So hilarious.
Buddy, that all sounds very in line with the Adam I've had some evenings with and partied with, the sculling 2 beers in the face of defiance, you know, like, watch me. But at the same time, even when I met your mom, Adam, I heard some of these stories about some rager concerts, and I think she can hold her own out there. So even if she gets separated in solo, Mama Martin goes hard. Let's go. One other thing I wanted to bring up, because again, it was a gift. And when I got the gift, I was like, this is going to be the shittiest concert I've ever been to. You know, you get the ticket, you're like, thanks. My parents got me tickets to Nickelback, which,
oh, dude,
you know,
that'd be sick.
And again, like, I think I was at the age where I just wanted to like FUD everything, just like throw shit. Oh, this is garbage. This isn't exactly what I wanted. It's not the meta for this time frame. But then ended up going to what I will only refer to as the JLC. I don't care about this upgrade Budweiser Gardens. It's the JLC, people. Always will be.
What is JLC? What did that mean?
The John Labatt Center. When Labatt had the sponsorship.
Check.
So it's like, again, even in Toronto, like the Rogers Center still sounds weird to me. We'll go with it. But yeah, the JLC Nickelback ended up being like a face melting show. And if you get up into the big high seats, and I hadn't been in there for a while, but like you're like almost straight down, like it's scary where you're like, I feel like I'm gonna fall off the kind of edge of this thing. But it was a great vantage point watching Chad Kroeger do his thing, and you know, Canadiana as it gets, and one of those front facing, saw the ticket, I'm like, this is gonna be a letdown. Walked out with my parents being like, dude, Nickelback is pretty sick. Like Nickelback goes hard in the paint. So sometimes everybody out there that's listening, front facing isn't everything. You gotta just dig into the experience and take it for what it is. It's not always, what it seems like it'll be.
There's definitely bands that like they were opening right, or you're at a music festival and there's nothing else going on, so you're like, I gotta watch something. And like, yeah, there's so many bands where either my level of respect and enjoyment of their music like doubled or tripled once I've seen them live. Like, there's just something very powerful about that experience.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, this leads us to the big question, best concert experience. So maybe we've already covered it, maybe we haven't, but I'd love to hear from you guys. Is there a best concert experience, one that just like beats out all the others?
I got one. And it was just, I think, again, the time frame of my life where it was my favorites. Like, literally got to see almost every one of my favorite artists at the time in one show. And it was actually a Young Money tour. So, like, Lil Wayne, Drake, Nicki Minaj, like, the whole Young Money crew, Tyga. It was the entire crew. And at that point, they had an album out. So, like, collab track. So everybody was kind of working with each other. Birdman was there. At the time, I think everybody in my high school and in my age bracket, Lil Wayne obsessed, like literally was the guy during a milli, all those things. So that was at the Molson Amphitheater, as Adam referenced already. So you're half outside, beers are flowing, really nice day in Toronto, and really just a perfect scene for that, like, epic show. And again, it was a gift. I seem to get a lot of gifts for free concerts and stuff. Went with my brother, which was like first time doing a concert together, and he was a massive Lil Wayne fan. So that was kind of my favorite, just for the encapsulation of like everything being the epitome at the time. Like, felt like we were the luckiest people in the world to be seeing all of these artists right in the same show, and for a reasonable price, I think. Got the gift. So that's probably my favorite. Again, I love Toronto. Great city to visit for a show. Probably wouldn't live there. And a great venue for some of the biggest artists in the world at that time.
Yeah, that's epic, Dan.
It was
I guess in the sort of rap hip hop genre, I've only been to one rap hip hop show, other than like I guess they were calling that hip hop night, what I was talking about with like TLC, or not TLC, but Ja Rule and them. But the one legit goat that I did see, and it was with Mike Burgess there. We had a couple shrooms and we went to see Jay-Z, and that show was fucking epic. That was a banger. I'm not sure I would go as far as saying it was my favorite show experience. And I honestly don't even know how you categorize that. Like, I think one of the shows that I'm most happy I saw, because I don't think I'll ever get the chance again, is Black Sabbath. Going to see Ozzy live is like nothing else. The dude's epic, and he's still out there giving her. So that was a really cool experience. There's a series of random experiences that I've really loved. And one of them was seeing, Jason Aldean or something. He's like a country singer.
Yep.
Or Jason McCoy. It was Jason McCoy, Jason. So he's actually the singer from the Roadhammers, which you guys might know that name. But anyways, he was in Collingwood, right where I'm from, playing at the Gaiety Theater, which is this like old theater that's been shut down for years, and now they kind of use it for little events and stuff. Anyways, this dude's huge, and he comes and he's playing an electric show, and the fucking power goes out to the whole city. And my man rolls deep with a cell phone flashlight and an acoustic guitar and plays the rest of the show.
Whoa.
And my God, did it ever go over? I just got chills again. And so I'm there with my grandma, my mom, my grandpa, and this dude. We're all like, oh, what's going on? This is kind of crazy. No, fuck that. He grabs an acoustic guitar. He just plays the rest of his set like nothing happened. It was so awesome. And then we got to go and meet him after the show behind the theater. And like, just what a cool small town kind of thing to do. Like, he didn't have to do that. Obviously, surely whatever contract would have been in place, he could have just walked off. But really interesting experience. And then one more, and I forgot to mention this, or perhaps we were circling back on this, but a voyage. I know we did that, but a voyage that we did make where I got, again, surprised, is my family and I went to Six Flags, Darien Lake, which is like kind of, American Wonderland, if you will, but done American style. So it's better. And there, I guess one of the craziest experiences was seeing Kid Rock live in concert right around the time that they were doing that song, I Put Your Picture Away.
With Sheryl Crow.
Sheryl Crow. And anyways, my man has strippers in cages in the air. And fuck me if I'm not a kid going, what in the hell? Let's be rock stars, man. I'm just like,
I love this guy.
Mom, can I be a rock star? She's like, sure, dude. If that's what you want, then you do that. I'm like, strippers in cages? She's like, sure, dude.
Done.
Like, fuck yeah. Oh man. But I think those are some of the better ones. And obviously the Linkin Park thing was cool.
Huge.
Yeah, I think those unique experiences are what like really stand out for me when I think about like most memorable. And the first year we went to Osheaga, like back then I wasn't on social media really at all, but my buddy was, and he was like constant like throughout the entire weekend like checking Twitter. And I just remember being like, dude, like I don't get it, like what's going on here? He was like, look, man, there's going to be this secret show. The only way you can get tickets is on Twitter. He's like, we have to go. And he was like way bigger of a music fan than me. And I was like, okay, well, like that sounds cool or whatever. Like, yeah, let's do it. We ended up like getting tickets. It was this very complicated process, especially because like this would have been, I don't know, like mid.
Well, this has got to be early Twitter too. Like, I don't think Twitter would have been laid out this like nicely.
Yeah, and like I don't want to misspeak here, but I'm gonna say like maybe it was like 2010 or something like that. So like again, like Twitter wasn't what it is today. And he got this ticket. He's like, man, it's a secret show. It's the Arkells, and there's some other bands, but like we don't know anything. But what was really cool was it was a theme show. So it was Motown Funk.
Cool.
So everyone was going to be playing Motown Funk, and none of these bands are known. Well, it turned out like, yeah, I guess I could reverse engineer this if I really did some sleuthing, but it ended up being the Trues, the Arkells, the Sheepdogs, and that was the year the Sheepdogs were like
blowing up.
And I forget, there was one or two other Canadian bands as well, but like all these bands were just like gaining traction, and it was just like this magical experience because they're all playing like funky music, and like again, just like you spent the whole day at a music festival, listen to them play their hits. And then you get to go into this small venue, and like they were all just fucking around. Like you could tell, like this was almost like I don't know this as a fact, but I would almost guarantee, again, they weren't massive bands, so this was a way for them to like get paid to have fun. And essentially, like they would come out and like take over for each other. So like you would have a couple Sheepdogs playing with the Arkells, and like just these weird combinations that I imagine they've never done since or before that. And it was just this really unique experience. Again, similar to that idea of like, you know, the power going off and like he's playing by, you're just like, no one else is ever going to have this experience again. And there's something like really fun about participating in that. Yeah, truly a one-of-one experience. So
wild, man.
My grandparents have gone to Nashville. I don't know if it's multiple times now, but I think it may be multiple times. And like, dude, one of the coolest things like that they bring back is like, you know, they'll be having a rye and Pepsi's like my grandpa's drink. He'll be having a rye at like a bar, and then like, you know, Toby Keith or somebody of that sort of like level of fame will just fucking walk by or like sit down at the bar or just play a set. And you're like, what in the hell? And I think for that reason too, Nashville's high on my list of places I would like to make a voyage to.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not particularly a country listener, but I find live music is just so like, it's like a virus, a positive virus. Like as soon as you hear live music, you're just like, your whole spirit gets lifted. It doesn't really matter the genre. And we randomly, another cool experience I had is we were sitting here. It was like, you know, it was like the afternoon. We were just kind of having a lazy morning. And I was like, hey, do you want to like do something cool today? And Christina was like, yeah, sure. I mean, what are you thinking? And I'm like, well, let's drive to Barrie. I'm pretty sure, Boots and Hearts is like starting in like a few hours. And if we leave right now, we can make it for the first show. And she's like, all right, dude, sure, let's go. And we were packed up in the car within like 20 minutes, booked the hotel on the way, right? Bought the tickets on the way and just landed there. And like, I don't really love country music, but we had the most fun weekend ever at Boots and Hearts, just like enjoying live music and the energy that it brings with the people that are there. So like we made tons of friends that were, you know, people that were tenting there and whatever. And I just love that sort of spontaneous, just kind of adventures that you can get into. And it looks like we've frozen Matt.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. So.
Yeah. This is so weird. I was watching us on camera and I'm like, how do I look so still?
I thought the same thing. I'm like, Matt is extremely stoic.
This is not how you're going to win this staring contest bet. I won't stand for it.
I feel very confident that I could win it right now. But yeah, honestly, Nashville's really high on my list too.
Yeah.
I watched an interview with John Rich from like Big and Rich. I don't know if you guys remember,
Yep.
like Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy guy.
Absolutely.
And apparently he's got like this killer club in downtown Nashville, like on whatever the main street is. I think it's maybe Broadway. And he was just talking about how like they'll just bring in like on like a Friday or Saturday night, he'll just bring in his buddies and they'll just like riff. And
So
like you'll get
cool.
some of the biggest musicians in country music just like goofing around and like yeah, it just sounded like, again, there's some of those like one-of-one experiences to be had in Nashville.
Well, Matt, I 100% commit that I will go with you to Nashville as soon as we can fly there, man. I'm so down.
Let's go.
So down.
Let's go. And I've heard from some friends and like, you know, colleagues that really are country music maxis that like, if I get maybe you don't listen to it on the radio, but they always convince me. They're like, dude, if you go to a country show, your mind will be blown. Like you will see it from a whole new angle, a whole new perspective, and maybe have a new respect for it. And like, I think with the modernization of country music, because it's not what it once was, it's becoming increasingly more like rap, you know, BPM and even the rhythm of it. So I find myself gravitating toward it from like a songwriting standpoint, where I'm like, oh, this is almost like how I would write like a hip hop or a pop song. But the energy I could imagine coming from a stage from some of these guys, a full band. And to Matt's point about the, you know, eclectic shows that are like one-of-ones, mix-ups of bands, like that's like basically being inside an intimate jam session with a bunch of like A1 caliber artists and just being a fly on the wall and being able to absorb that energy and like see how those guys even, you know, work with each other when they're from completely different groups and bands. It's almost like a language they all speak. And, you know, like Matt was saying, hand the guitar to the next guy and he just takes off, doesn't even care if it's fully in tune. Those one-on-ones are incredible. And I don't think I've had enough of them. Like from what I've told you guys, a lot of festivals, a lot of kind of like pretty high production value concerts. But I think sometimes the low production value and the really, again, one-of-one intimate shows are the big memories. So I think I need to stack a few more of those in my kind of memory book.
Actually reminds me when I was at Rock the Park, the Trews came out and played with Glorious Sons and started like playing their songs. So and that was another cool, like just random, like, you know, like what the hell, like how often is this going to happen really? And it's just so cool to be there for those things and just, and have the receipts. And I'm packing up my house right now cause I'm moving. And just yesterday, I found the original photo of me on the floor at Family Values Tour and the lead singer of Korn with his like super unique microphone.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, and it's again, Matt, like you said, it's like the shittiest, most blurry photo ever, but it just took me right back to that experience. And you're just like, wow, what a time. So
yeah, it's funny how concerts are so visceral like that. Like, again, even an image, a ticket stub, it just brings you right back there. And like, I mean, a lot of memories I remember, but maybe not so like, again, I think visceral is the right word there, where you really like feel like you're back in that moment in time. So again, for anybody that's listening, if you haven't done a live show, which would just be like mind blowing, you're not going to make it if you haven't, but do so. Like, do yourself a favor, even go to a local dive bar, catch a karaoke night if that's your first start, and get your toes wet. Because as we're all agreeing, like some of my highlights of my life, I think could probably fall into this bucket of like concerts and live music.
Yeah, 100% agree. I'm glad to be back and unfrozen, guys. And this feels like a natural time to kind of wrap up here, but it's been a lot of fun. We definitely need to go and hit up some Nashville music. I'm also even super excited. Tom McDonald dropped a new song today that he's been pumping hard. And I think he'd be a cool guy to kind of see live as well. I feel like he's a performer at heart. But anyways, yeah.
I was just going to say, we're seeing some banger tracks. Sorry to cut you off there, Mac, but from Blink-182, Russ, Tom McDonald, today or this week has been a banger. So even aside from the live music, get out there on Spotify, stream some stuff.
Absolutely. And yeah, obviously people can catch your music on Spotify as well, Dan, right?
Absolutely. I'm all over there, Dan the Lost Boy, as well as Project LB52, if you're looking for stuff that's a little more NFT centric. And yeah, it's all there and more coming.
Cool.
If you want to literally be part of the music process, you can with Dan these days through Project LB52.
Let's go.
I think there's also something really fun about that.
Yeah, I think more people need
hanging
to
out with us.
Sorry, I think you lagged
Dan.
there a little, Matt. I was going to say, yeah, great process. If you did need something custom, can kind of hit that out of the park. But I enjoyed kind of coming on the show today, and I don't think it'll be the last time, boys.
Awesome.
All right. Well, appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Smash the like button, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. Comment on this. Let us know what's one of your most memorable favorite music experiences. And like Dan said, if somehow you've missed out on that, it's definitely worth visiting, regardless of what stage of life you're at.
Awesome. And now we're actually going to play you a song by Dan the Lost Boy. So have a great day, everybody. And we'll see you back here Monday. Well, in fact, I won't see you because I'll be hunting, but Matt will see you, and we'll keep the show rolling. So have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.
They say life is what you make it. So what happens if you actually try? What if you actually tried to get your mind right? What if you actually tried to live the high life? What if you happen to die cause life is finite? What if you actually tried to live your best day ever? What if you actually tried to get your mind right? What if you actually tried to live the high life? What if you happen to die cause life is finite? What if you actually tried to live your best day ever? What if you actually grind out when the time's right? What if you actually blinded by your hindsight? What if you actually find out what defines life? What if you actually tried to live your best day ever? I'm getting 1% better every day. I'm getting 1% better every way. I'm waking up every day to a sunny day. No matter what the weather say, life is like a record, so just let it play.